modern classroom is dynamic, filled with diverse learners who require different methods of instruction to help them learn and change their brains, and that can be a challenge. To help your students remember what they learned in your classroom, you used retrieval practice and spacing. In this module, we're going to use additional strategies for improving understanding and memory. Generation and elaboration are the tools we use for helping get the information in and making it stick. When students try to figure out an answer to a problem or make sense of something new, their use of generation or elaboration creates new neural pathways to where the information is stored in their brains. Generation asks us to think about what we already know and then apply that knowledge to figure out what we need to know. For example, you may not already know the average bladder capacity in men in milliliters, but you can generate an answer based on the things that you do know, and so can your students. When we use generation, or generative learning, we are connecting new knowledge to prior learning. That gives us more neural connections to the information and makes the memory more durable. And it's easy to do. Instead of telling, try asking questions that cause students to think about what you are teaching. You can make sure that all of your students are engaged in thinking by asking them to write their answers. Once everyone has had a chance to think and write, you can call on students to share what they wrote. Elaboration asks students to create new knowledge and meaning. Elaboration can be as simple as a why question or as complicated as a semester project. The deeper students think, the more likely it is that they will remember what they were thinking about. Will it take a lot of planning time to use generation and elaboration strategies in your classroom? Not necessarily. Instead of giving information, turn your instructional input into a question. Asking students to think about the content helps them remember what they are learning. Using elaboration in the classroom is just as easy as using generative learning strategies. For example, you can ask your students to think about the significance of what they are learning. Why is it important? How can they use this information in the future? Generation and elaboration can also involve activities, projects, puzzles, and games. The important point to consider is not how involved the planning is, but rather, does the learning require students to think? Strategies like elaboration and generation are an important piece of the learning puzzle. They help students connect course content to prior learning. While retrieval practice and spacing help assure that students can recall what they have learned, generation and elaboration ask students to think about the learning. Together, these strategies accomplish the goal of education: to empower your students to understand, remember, and use the important knowledge that you are teaching.